Imagine a quiet mountain night in 1981. The pines are still, the air is cold, and in a little wooden cabin numbered 28, a mother and her kids are about to have the last normal evening of their lives. By sunrise, 3 of them will be dead, 1 will be missing, and the survivors will never sleep the same again. This is the true story of the Keddie Cabin murders told straight. No fluff, no hype, just the facts, the people, the mistakes, and the questions that still hang in the air like smoke. Let's start with the family at the heart of it all. Glenna Susan Sharp, everyone called her Sue, is 36 years old. She's a redhead with a quick laugh and a fighter's spirit. A few years earlier, her marriage fell apart back in Connecticut. Her husband James walked out, and Sue decided she wasn't going to let life beat her. So she loaded her 5 kids into a beat-up station wagon and drove west, all the way to Northern California, chasing a fresh start. Her brother Don lived in the small town of Quincy, up in the Sierra Nevada mountains. That's where they landed. The kids were a handful, but they were hers. John, 15, the oldest boy, tall, charming, always grinning like he knew a secret. Sheila, 14, full of teenage fire, dreaming of getting out of small-town life. Tina, 12, quieter, watchful, the kind of kid who noticed everything. Rick, 10, all energy, baseball gloves and scraped knees. And Greg, 5, the baby, still small enough to believe the world was safe. They lived in a trailer at first, tight quarters, but Sue made it work. She cleaned houses, waitressed at the local bar, whatever paid the bills. By the fall of 1980, things were looking up. They moved into Cabin 28 at the Keddie Resort. Now, resort makes it sound fancy. It wasn't. Keddie was a ghost of a town built in the 1930s for railroad workers. The cabins were small, wooden, weathered. Most stood empty. The resort had a little store, a bar, a few scattered homes, and not much else. Population under 100. Jobs were scarce. People kept to themselves or they didn't. Secrets didn't stay secret long. Cabin 28 sat near the railroad tracks. Thin walls, creaky floors, a wood stove for heat. It wasn't much, but to Sue it was home. The kids shared rooms. John had the basement. The younger boys bunked together. Sheila and Tina shared a space. Sue took the couch more often than not. Next door in Cabin 27 lived the Seabolt family, friendly, normal, the kind of neighbors who waved and watched out for each other. Across the way in Cabin 26 lived the Smarts. That's where things get complicated. Martin Smartt, everyone called him Marty, was 36, a big guy, former Army Vietnam vet. He worked as a cook at the backdoor bar in town. He had a short fuse, a drinking problem, and a temper that made people cross the street. His wife Marilyn was younger, tired, worn down. She'd married Marty young, and it hadn't been easy. They had a son, Justin, 12 years old, wild hair, wide eyes, always running around with Rick and Greg. Justin spent a lot of time at the Sharps. Sleepovers were common. Sue and Marilyn got close. Too close from Marty's point of view. Sue listened when Marilyn cried. She gave advice. She said things like, "You don't have to stay with him. You're worth more." Marty hated that. He called Sue names behind her back. Nosy redhead. Trouble. He didn't like anyone telling his wife what to do, especially not the woman next door. Then there was Boubede. He wasn't from Keddie. He rolled into town from Chicago, said he was a former cop, told wild stories about mob hits and shootouts. He had a thick mustache, slick hair, and eyes that didn't blink enough. He crashed on Marty's couch a lot. The two of them drank together, complained about life, and gave people the creeps. That's the stage. A small town, thin walls, old grudges, and a family just trying to hold it together. Now let's go to the day everything went wrong. April 11th, 1981, a Saturday. It started normal. Sue, Sheila, and Greg drove into Quincy that morning for Rick's Little League tryouts. The field was at Gansner Park, about 6 miles away. The road twisted through the canyon, pine trees thick on both sides. On the way back, they spotted John and his best friend Dana Wingate, hitchhiking home. Dana was 17, tall, easygoing, always with John. They were inseparable. Sue pulled over. "Get in, you two." The car filled with laughter, teenage jokes, plans for the night. By afternoon, John and Dana were restless. They wanted to go back to Quincy, hang out, maybe sneak a beer, chase girls. They stuck out their thumbs and caught a ride. Sue didn't love it, but she let it go. Boys will be boys. Back at Cabin 28, Sue started dinner. Spaghetti, Tina's favorite. Sheila was excited. She had a sleepover planned at the Seabolts in Cabin 27. Rick was still buzzing from tryouts. Greg was building a pillow fort. Justin Smartt came over to play. The little boys would have a sleepover of their own. Evening came. The sun dropped behind the mountains. The air got sharp. Around 7, Sheila kissed Sue goodbye and walked next door. Tina went with her for a bit, wanted to watch TV. Hill Street Blues was on. She sat on the couch with Jamie Seabolt, 8 years old, munching snacks. Around 9:30, Tina looked at the clock. I should head back. She pulled a blanket over her shoulders and walked the short path home. The cabin door creaked open. She slipped inside. That was the last anyone saw her alive in Keddie. John and Dana got back around 10. They'd hitched a ride with some guy in a truck, face already fading from memory. They burst in full of stories, energy, teenage noise. Sue was on the couch, flipping channels. "Keep it down," she said. But she was smiling. The little boys were already asleep in their room. Rick, Greg, Justin tucked in, dreaming. Across the way, Marty and Bo had been drinking. They stopped by Sue's cabin earlier, around 8. "Come out with us," Marty said. "Back door's open late." Sue laughed it off. "Got kids," she said. "Maybe another time." They left. But Marty was stewing. He didn't like being told no. He didn't like Sue at all. The night deepened. Midnight came and went. At the back door bar, Marty and Bo were seen earlier, loud, complaining about the jukebox, throwing back whiskey. They left before closing. Witnesses weren't sure when. Back in cabin 26, Marilyn was in bed, pretending to sleep. Marty paced. Bo sat on the couch, staring at nothing. Then, sometime after midnight, something moved in the dark. Neighbors in cabin 16 woke up around 1:15. Muffled screams, thuds, a sound like someone being hurt bad. The husband got up, looked out the window. Nothing, just black woods. "Probably a fight," he muttered. Went back to bed. But in cabin 28 it wasn't a fight, it was a slaughter. The front door opened, quiet or forced. No one knows. 2 men stepped inside. One tall, heavy, one shorter, wiry. They carried hammers. They carried knives. They carried rage. John was up first. "Who the hell are you?" That's all he got out. A hammer swung, crack, skull. He dropped. Dana jumped up, tried to fight. Another swing. Another crack. He went down hard. Sue heard the noise. She ran in from the kitchen or the couch, we don't know. "John, no!" She fought like a mother, clawed, kicked, screamed. But a gun butt, a BB gun from the house, smashed into her temple. She staggered. A knife came out, over and over, chest, throat, blood poured. Dana was still moving. They tied him to John, wrist to ankle like a cruel joke, strangled him with a cord. His eyes bulged. He stopped. Tina woke up. She came out of her room, blanket around her shoulders. "Mom?" That's when they grabbed her, a hand over her mouth, dragged out the back door, into the night. A van started up, green. Someone saw it earlier, tires on gravel, gone. The killers moved fast. They used tape, medical tape, not from the house, to bind and gag. They used cords from lamps. They left weapons, a bent knife, a hammer, a steak knife. They covered Sue with a yellow blanket, like they were hiding her or mocking her. Blood was everywhere, on the floor, on the walls, on the ceiling. It dripped, it pooled, it soaked into the wood. But the 3 little boys, Rick, Greg, and Justin, slept through it. Or did they? By 2 or 3 in the morning, the cabin was silent again. The killers were gone. The fire in cabin 26 burned late. Clothes, maybe. Shoes. Evidence. Morning came, April 12, sun up, birds singing. 7:45. Sheila Sharp walked back from the Seabolts. She'd had fun, stayed up late, gossiping with friends. She pushed open the front door of cabin 28. The smell hit first, thick, metallic, wrong. Then she saw her mom under a blanket. John and Dana on the floor, tied together, faces purple, blood crusted, throats cut, eyes open. Sheila screamed, a sound that cut through the morning. She ran next door. "They're dead. Help, call someone." Jamie Seabolt, the 8-year-old, ran over. Looked in the back door, saw the blood, gagged. He helped pull Rick, Greg, and Justin out a window. "Don't look," he told them. But they did. They saw. Police came fast, Plumas County Sheriff's Office, but they weren't ready. No homicide unit, no experience. Deputies walked through the blood, touched things, moved things. The scene was ruined in hours. No one asked about Tina for a long time. Her bed was empty. Her blanket was gone. Finally, someone said, "Wait, where's Tina?" She was gone. The investigation started bad and stayed bad. They interviewed neighbors. A green van was seen. Screams were heard. Justin Smartt, the 12-year-old who slept over, said at first, "I didn't hear anything." Then, weeks later, under hypnosis, he changed his story. He said he saw two men. One tall, light hair, holding a hammer. One short, dark hair, glasses. They came in. They fought John. They hit Dana. They took Tina. He hid under the covers, pretended to sleep. The description matched Marty and Bo. More came out. Marty reported a hammer missing the next day, a claw hammer, the kind that left marks on the walls. Marilyn said he burned something in the fireplace that morning. Smelled bad, like plastic or worse. Witnesses put Marty and Bo at the bar, but not all night. Gaps in their story, big gaps. Marty took a lie detector test. Passed, later bragged, "Easy to beat if you know how." Bo lied about everything, his past, his job, even his name sometimes. Said he was a cop, wasn't. Said he was shot in the line of duty, no record. Years later, a letter from Marty to Marilyn. "I've paid the price of your love, with 4 people's lives." Another time, Marilyn taped him. He said, "Yeah, I did it. Sue had to go. The boys got in the way. Tina saw too much." Then he laughed. Said he was joking, drunk. A therapist said Marty confessed to him years after. Said he beat the polygraph. Said he had friends in the sheriff's office. But nothing happened. No arrests. The case went cold. 3 years later, 1984, a skull is found 60 miles away near Camp 18 by Feather Falls. A hiker sees it, calls it in. Anonymous tip. That's the Keddie girl. It was Tina. Her jawbone was found later, but the tape of the 911 call, gone. The original recording of Justin's hypnosis, missing. The case sat, forgotten by most, but not by Sheila, not by the family, not by a few cops who never let it go. Fast forward to 2013. A new sheriff, Greg Hagwood, grew up in Quincy, knew the Sharps, slept over at that cabin as a kid. He reopened the case. Detective Mike Gamberg took over. He found evidence in boxes, forgotten, mislabeled. A hammer pulled from a pond in 2016, Marty's kind of hammer. DNA on the medical tape used to bind Sue, not from the family. A knife found near a store. Fingerprints, new leads. They interviewed Justin again, now an adult. He stood by the hypnosis, said he saw it, said he was scared. They looked at 6 suspects, some still alive, some with records, some with stories that didn't add up. Was it just Marty and Bo? Was it revenge, Sue talking to Marilyn, pushing her to leave? Was Tina taken to silence her, or worse? Or was it bigger? More people, a cover-up? Rumors said local cops looked the other way, said Bo had ties to organized crime, said evidence vanished on purpose. We don't know, not yet. Cabin 28 was torn down in 2004. The land is empty now, just dirt and pines. But the story lives. Sue Sharp fought for her kids. John stood up to protect his mom. Dana tried to help his friend. Tina was just a little girl walking home. Sheila came home to a nightmare. She's in her 50s now, still waiting, still hoping. Rick and Greg grew up fast. Justin carries guilt even if he was just a kid. This isn't over. If you know something, anything, call the Plumas County Sheriff's Office. 532-283-66300. There's no statute of limitations on murder. The truth is still out there. Buried in the woods, hidden in old files, locked in someone's memory. Thanks for listening. This one stays with you. Be kind to each other. Hug your people. And if you're ever in the mountains, listen close. The pines still whisper. Sleep tight.